Tonight on the Daily Debrief, more arrests in the case of a California cop killed in the line of duty. Plus, actor Kevin Spacey tries to dodge an upcoming court date. And where one of Elizabeth Smart's kidnappers is living and why it's apparently legal. Also, it's the eve of opening statements in the case of a murdered New Jersey wife. We break it all down on the Daily Debrief for Wednesday, January 2nd. Good evening, folks. Welcome to the Daily Debrief. I'm Aaron Keller. I'll be joined by Rachel Stockman in just a moment. Opening statements are scheduled to begin first thing tomorrow morning in a New Jersey murder trial. Jeremiah Monell is accused of stabbing his wife to death and leading police on a manhunt after the stabbing. Victim Tara O'Shea Watson died in December 2016. If convicted, Jeremiah Monell faces life without parole. He rejected a 30-year plea deal. Joining me tonight on the Debrief, as I said, is Law&Crime President Rachel Stockman. Rachel, good evening.
Good evening. Nice to be here.
Good to have you here as well. Jeremiah Monell facing these accusations. It's kind of an interesting case. It's a sad case, but what's even more sad is that this 12-year-old son of the defendants may be the state's key witness.
It's a terribly sad case and really a case of domestic violence gone horribly, horribly wrong. And as you mentioned, that 12-year-old little boy, he not only heard a lot of what happened, he saw a lot of what happened. And you have to remember, prosecutors say that this woman was stabbed 48 times, and this boy is supposed to testify during the trial. I can only imagine how traumatic that must have been for him, and now having to relive so much of this.
I can't imagine. 12 years old, he said he woke up due to the noise, saw the defendant slamming the mother on the floor, choking her, and we don't know where it goes from there. Police have the defendant's bloody palm print. The motive apparently is the defendant having a restraining order enforced against him.
Yeah, and again, this is a case, I think you and I both agree, where we don't quite understand why it's going to trial. He was offered a plea deal, 30 years, and he rejected that plea deal.
It's not a bad deal in the grand scheme of things.
Considering his age and considering what looks like to be the evidence against him, you have eyewitness testimony, you have a bloody handprint, you have a history of domestic violence. I want to see where the defense is going with this.
I'm really curious. Opening statements are going to pick up in that case in the morning, of course. Another case we are following here on Law and Crime is the retrial of Melanie Ian.
The jury has not been able to reach a verdict in this case. Therefore, at this time, I declare a mistrial in the case. I do want to, though, express my appreciation.
Case against Ian ending with a split jury. She's accused of stabbing her boyfriend to death after he tried to dump her. Authorities say Ian fled to Maryland after the stabbing. 4 jurors wanted to convict her of second-degree murder. 2 wanted to convict her of manslaughter. Remember, folks, Florida uses 6-person juries. The defense said another man in the house committed the stabbing, moved the murder weapon, and then washed up in order to conceal his involvement. Testimony in this retrial is scheduled to kick off next week. The trial of a Michigan Uber driver accused of killing 4 people is scheduled to also begin with this new year. Jason Dalton, seen here, reportedly told authorities a mobile phone app took over his mind and forced him to commit the crimes. The problem for prosecutors is that the Court of Appeals threw out Dalton's statements. Dalton demanded an attorney during police interrogation and said he wished to remain silent. However, police continued to question him for more than 3 hours in violation of the Constitution. Prosecutors are still moving forward with the case. So once again tonight, to Law and Crime President Rachel Stockman on this one. Rachel, this one was a big surprise to us because this is basic law. This is like when the light turns red, you have to stop. When a suspect invokes his right to remain silent, police have to stop interrogating him.
And from what I understand, he invoked that right 40 times during the course of this hours-long interview. So it's baffling to any of us that watch what's going on in our court system that the police would continue with an interview like this unless they thought he had some kind of information that would help them and the public was in some kind of danger because of it. But from what I understand, everything had been done, and this was after the fact.
Yeah, this is sort of an area that tests a constitutional exception. You know, the rule is that you have to stop an interrogation when the suspect invokes the right to remain silent, invokes the right to counsel. But there's an exception if the public could be facing an immediate safety threat. You know, there could be a plot, there could be bombs that haven't gone off yet. And police can kind of go forward with questioning there. Here, they didn't really go that way until they were halfway in the middle of the interrogation, and the appeals court said no.
Yeah, the appeals court did not buy that this was any kind of public safety concern, and they found that his rights were just violated during this police interview. That aside, big picture aside, prosecutors still have a lot of evidence that they can bring forth in trial to potentially get a conviction here. So
I'm sure we're going to see the business records, we're going to see surveillance footage, we've got a survivor, we're going to see quite a bit here.
Witnesses, for sure.
Exactly. So a lot more to come on that. That one's going to pick up very quickly.
Absolutely. We'll be on it on Monday.
All right. Thanks a lot. Again, Rachel, we'll check in with you again at the end of the broadcast. Those are some of the cases we're covering with the start of the new year. Plus, there are others, including the McStay family murder case in California. Here is Anthony Velez with a look ahead.
I'm Anthony Velez, and here are the top upcoming trials of 2019. The quadruple homicide trial of Charles Chase Merritt, the man accused of fatally beating a business associate, his wife, and their 2 preschool children, is set to begin on January 7th, 2019. The 61-year-old suspect is facing charges in connection to the disappearance of business associate Joseph McStay, his wife, Summer, and their young sons, 4-year-old Gianni and 3-year-old Joey Jr., from their home in Fallbrook in 2010. The family's remains were discovered in the Mojave Desert in 2013, and Merritt was arrested in 2014. Merritt represented himself for a short period, but later sought legal assistance. Merritt now faces the death penalty if convicted. The trial of the retired Tampa police captain who claims he fatally shot another man in self-defense during a dispute at a movie theater is scheduled to begin on February 25, 2019. 75-year-old Curtis Reeves reportedly fatally shot Chad Olson inside the Cobb Grove 16 after the 2 men argued over Olson's use of a cell phone during previews. Olson allegedly approached Reeves and threw a bag of popcorn at him before Reeves drew his gun and fatally shot Olson. Reeves tried to claim a stand-your-ground defense, but a judge rejected the defense argument, and that decision was upheld on appeal. His defense team will reportedly argue self-defense at trial. Reeves is now facing a second-degree murder charge. The trial of the Georgia man accused of killing an 11th grade history teacher in Ocilla is set to begin in April 2019. The defendant, Ryan Duke, was arrested in 2017 in connection with Tara Grinstead's 2005 disappearance and death. Duke and another man, Bo Dukes, reportedly told friends at a party a month after Grinstead's disappearance that they killed Grinstead and burned her body. Duke now faces multiple charges, including felony murder. Bo Dukes faces charges of concealing a death, tampering with evidence, and hindering the apprehension or punishment of a criminal. A man accused of killing his pregnant ex-girlfriend and a police officer who tried to arrest him in Florida will stand trial in May. Marquis Floyd is accused of fatally shooting his ex-girlfriend, Sade Dixon, on December 10, 2016, before shooting Orlando Police Lieutenant Deborah Clayton when she tried to arrest him in January 2017. Lloyd reportedly lost the use of one of his eyes while being apprehended by authorities, claiming he suffered an unprovoked police attack. Lloyd now faces the death penalty. The trial of Pan Hupp, the woman accused of killing a mentally disabled man in Missouri to cover up another murder in 2011, is set to begin in June. Prosecutors claim Hupp fatally shot 33-year-old Louis Gumpenberger to divert attention for the murder of Betsy Faria, whose husband, Russ Faria, she framed for the killing in 2011. Hupp was the star witness in Faria's first murder trial, resulting in a guilty verdict. Faria was later acquitted during a second trial. Hupp now faces a charge of first-degree murder for Gumpenberger's killing. The 2 suspects, accused of killing a Florida State law professor in a murder-for-hire plot in 2014, will face a jury in June 2019. The suspects, Sigfredo Garcia and Catherine Magbanua, reportedly hired a hitman, Luis Rivera, who allegedly drove from Miami to Tallahassee and fatally shot Dan Markle. Rivera took a plea deal to a lesser charge of second-degree murder in exchange for his testimony against Garcia and Magbanua. Investigators believe the suspects were hired by Markle's ex-wife's family to kill Markle over a custody dispute, but no family members have been charged. The suspects now face charges of first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and solicitation of murder. The ex-wife of NBA star Lorenzo Wright is set to stand trial for his murder in November 2019. Shira Wright and her cousin, Billy Turner, are accused of conspiring to kill Wright in 2010 when Wright's body was found with multiple gunshot wounds in Tennessee. The pair allegedly had a co-conspirator, Wright's cousin, convicted killer Jimmy Martin, who allegedly assisted with the cleanup of the crime scene. Martin turned state's witness, leading investigators to the murder weapon, which was tossed in a lake in Walnut, Michigan. Wright now faces a charge of first-degree murder, but won't face the death penalty if convicted. I'm Anthony Velez for Law and Crime, and those were the top upcoming trials of 2019.
A judge is ordering actor Kevin Spacey to appear in court on Monday. Spacey is charged with groping a young man in 2016. The judge rejected an attempt by Spacey to skip the appearance. Spacey's lawyer said his presence would do nothing but amplify the negative publicity already generated in connection with the case. Spacey says he will plead not guilty to felony indecent assault and battery charges. A former Boston television news anchor said Spacey groped her son in a restaurant bar in November 2017. Prosecutors have upped the charges against the Colorado man accused in the presumed death of his fiancée. Patrick Frazee now faces 2 counts of murder and 3 counts of solicitation of murder. Authorities believe Frazee killed Kelsey Berreth, who was both his fiancée and the mother of his child. The 2 counts of murder are different legal theories of Berreth's presumed death. Prosecutors were careful to say there was only 1 death, however. Authorities remain tight-lipped over what they think happened to Berreth, but they are saying they believe she was killed in her home. A total of 4 people are now charged with helping an undocumented immigrant who stands accused of killing an on-duty policeman. Newman, California Police Corporal Ronald Singh died after pulling over a suspected drunk driver. Authorities say that driver opened fire on Corporal Singh and killed him. Himself an immigrant, and he left behind a wife and a 5-month-old child. His funeral is scheduled for Friday. The accused gunman is 32-year-old Gustavo Perez Arriaga. Also under arrest are 4 others who are said to have lied to police about Arriaga's whereabouts. Police think Arriaga was trying to flee back to Mexico, and his accomplices were covering his tracks. At a news conference after the first wave of arrests, the slain officer's brother said thank you to the police and the community.
Monell Singh was my older brother. Yes, he's not coming back, but there's a lot of people out there that misses him, and a lot of law enforcement people that I don't know that work days and nights to make this happen. I'd like to thank you from the bottom of my heart to make this happen. I wish I could thank all the law enforcement agencies, Homeland Security in San Francisco, everyone, Bakersfield team. I was waiting for this to happen. I'd like to thank you, working day and night to make this happen. Thank you.
The local police chief echoed those sentiments.
We don't have the resources to make this happen. And without even a blink of an eye, they came to our aid, and they were able to catch the suspect and bring him into custody. This is new for our department. I know it was shared yesterday. This hasn't happened in the city of Newman in the history of the police department. The overwhelming emails, phone calls, text messages, we haven't returned all of them, and you just have to bear with us. We're going to try to get back to everybody. It's going to take some time. But thank you. Thank you all for everything you did.
The sheriff who led the investigation spoke harshly against sanctuary city laws, which he says directly led to the officer's death.
I'm not here to talk about the President of the United States, but I will repeat what I've said before. Border security goes hand in hand with national security, goes hand in hand with public safety, goes hand in hand with the safety of our community. We, law enforcement, need to be able, unrestricted, without political interference, we need to be able to protect our communities. We have a strong relationship in Stanislaus County with a variety of community stakeholders. We're not here to enforce federal immigration law. That's not our job. But law enforcement should be able to turn people over to ICE who are committing crimes, who are gang members, who victimize and exploit others. And despite my position on legislation that does not protect our communities or promote trust, I still have to protect the suspect's right to a fair trial and to due process. So we're not going to violate that.
Sheriff, there are people that have said that this case is being politicized.
Of course it's being politicized. The last thing in the world I want to do is politicize the death of Officer Singh. But let's go back to Ron. An immigrant. Immigrated here lawfully and legally to pursue his American dream. He achieved that goal. And his dream was taken from him. No, we shouldn't politicize it, but we have to have a conversation about restrictive legislation that puts our communities at risk. I'm here to protect the people of Stanislaus County, regardless of who they are.
Those words from the sheriff who was overseeing the investigation of an undocumented immigrant accused of killing an officer. Still ahead tonight on the Daily Debrief, police are searching for answers after a child is shot and killed in her family car. Also, the kidnapping of Elizabeth Smart, where one of the kidnappers is spending her life after prison, and why Smart fears for what could come next. That's after the break on the Daily Debrief. Welcome back to the Daily Debrief here on Law and Crime, folks. A child's tragic death has left people in Houston, Texas, searching for answers. 7-year-old Jasmine Barnes was fatally shot in the head while riding in her mother's car earlier this week. The car was heading toward a Walmart when a man in a red or maroon pickup truck pulled up next to it and started firing. The truck's driver then pulled in front of the Barnes family car and continued shooting. The local sheriff says there is no reasonable explanation for the shooting thus far and that the family did nothing to provoke the shooter. The shooter's identity is still unknown. A woman released from prison after spending time for kidnapping Elizabeth Smart is now living blocks away from a Salt Lake City elementary school. 73-year-old Wanda Barzi got out of prison in September after serving 8 years of a 15-year sentence. She's now on supervised release, and her release guidelines do not say anything about how far she must live from a school. Barzi and Brian David Mitchell kidnapped Elizabeth Smart when Smart was 14 years old. Smart says she has reason to believe that she should still fear Barzi and Mitchell. And now for a look at other criminal incidents making headlines tonight, here once again is Anthony Velez.
Here are today's top crime stories trending on lawandcrime.com and across the country. Authorities in Nevada are looking for a suspect who reportedly ran over and killed a manicurist after getting her credit card declined on a $35 bill. The unidentified suspect went to the Crystal Nails and Spa near the Las Vegas Strip to get her nails done. After her manicure, the suspect's credit card was reportedly declined and she tried to flee in a stolen vehicle. That's when she reportedly fatally ran over her manicurist, 51-year-old New Nigel, before fleeing the scene of the crime. Nigel's death was ruled a homicide, and the suspect remains at large. A man in Utah is under arrest after allegedly biting off a large chunk of another man's ear, reportedly during an argument about conspiracy theories in a hot tub. 43-year-old Brian David Boyack turned himself into authorities following the heated argument with the unidentified victim. Boyack reportedly assaulted the man and bit off a piece of his ear after an argument over large corporations and conspiracy theories. Boyack now faces multiple charges, including mayhem and criminal mischief and intoxication. Police officers in Kentucky went viral on social media after posting images of themselves mourning the loss of a truckload of Krispy Kreme donuts. The driver of the truck reportedly noticed smoke coming from the vehicle and called police. The driver was able to escape, but his delicious cargo wasn't so lucky. The Lexington Police Department posted a few images of dejected officers mourning the loss. Krispy Kreme responded to the post on Twitter, promising a fresh delivery of donuts. An investigation into the fire is underway. Authorities in Los Angeles released footage of a high-speed chase that ended with a violent crash on New Year's Day. Officers with the LAPD's gang unit pursued the suspects who they believed to have a gun in the car. The chase went through several residential streets in Crenshaw before the suspects T-boned another vehicle at an intersection. No one was injured in the crash, and the unidentified suspects were taken into custody. A man in Oregon is under arrest after being caught on camera trying to steal a bicycle locked up in front of a police precinct. The suspect, 26-year-old Adam Valet, is seen with a pair of bolt cutters trying to steal a bike from a bike rack in front of the Gladstone Police Department. That's when an officer intervened and arrested Valet. Valet now faces a charge of theft, criminal mischief, and felony possession of weapons. Those were today's top crime stories. I'm Anthony Velez for the Daily Debrief.
Back one last time tonight, Law and Crime President Rachel Stockman. So, Rachel, who comes up with the idea of stealing a bike that's in front of a police department? I mean, wouldn't someone think that it's guarded, that there's cameras?
I mean, everyone knows, of course, that there's cameras. And just to watch that video, there this guy is. I guess he had the foresight to dress with a hoodie and in black there. I have to say, though, the police kind of violently confronts him there, but I guess he didn't want this guy to get away. There he is getting handcuffed on the ground there. What the heck did he think was going to happen?
Did he, get out of the slammer and then decided he needed a ride? I want to know the backstory.
That could be it. He was.
And then try to pull the hood off, and he's got another hat under there too.
But see, he tried to disguise himself. Yet he tries to do this in a police department. Does not make much sense. But we're getting a good shot there of him.
I'm wondering, is there a sponsorship deal with what's on the hoodie? I have no idea. Okay, what do you make then? Moving on here, of the Krispy Kreme fire. There were police departments all around the country responding to that little viral Twitter.
Well, I honestly think it's a great marketing. It was not a marketing ploy, but it was a great marketing. Yes, it did, by Krispy Kreme, because they jumped in on the bandwagon there and made sure to tweet it out and take advantage of whatever free press they could possibly get out of this.
They jumped in on it, but then the New York Police Department jumped in and said, "Oh, we're flying over with fresh reinforcements," and this, that, and the other thing. I mean, it turned into a stir for New Year's. I'm wondering if the competitors, like Dunkin' Donuts, they're going to jump in too.
We'll see.
That's the next question. Rachel, appreciate you being on the Debrief tonight.
Absolutely.
All the time we've got for this post-New Year's edition of the Daily Debrief. Our live trial coverage, which has been on hiatus because of the holidays, resumes finally tomorrow right at 9 a.m. with the Monell case. I'll see you back here on the Debrief. Have a good evening, everyone.